The Batman, The Case of the Chemical Syndicate, by Bob Kane. The Batman, a mysterious and adventurous figure, fighting for righteousness and apprehending the wrongdoer. In his lone battle against the evil forces of society, his identity remains unknown. The home of Commissioner Gordon, who at the moment is entertaining his young socialite friend Bruce Wayne.
Well, Commissioner, anything exciting happening these days?
No. Oh, except this fella they call the Batman puzzles me. Hello? What's that? Lambert, the Chemical King? Stabbed to death? His son's fingerprints on the knife? I'll be right over. Talk about something exciting. Old Lambert has been murdered at his mansion. I'm going there now. Like to come along?
Oh well, nothing else to do, might as well. The Commissioner and Bruce Wayne speed toward the Lambert residence.
Hello, Sergeant. Everything under control? Yes, sir. We've got young Lambert in the back room.
And after a thorough examination of the scene of the crime, the room becomes busy with the usual police routine.
Well, I'm finishing here. Let me talk to young Lambert. Hello, Lambert. They say you killed your father.
I didn't do it! Commissioner, believe me, I didn't do it.
Calm yourself, my boy, and tell me all about it.
Well, sir, tonight I came home early, and as I was passing the library, I heard a groan. I rushed in, and there was my father lying on the floor with a knife sticking up from his back. And as I rushed in, I got the impression of something leaping out the window. I also noticed that father's safe was opened. I pulled the knife out of my father's body and turned him toward me just in time to hear him say, Contract. And then he died. That's how I got my fingerprints on the knife. That's the truth, Commissioner.
Did your father have any enemies or people who had interest in his business activities?
Not that I know of, except his 3 former business partners. Let's see, there were Stephen Crane, Paul Rogers, and Alfred Stryker.
Commissioner, there's a man named Stephen Crane who wants to speak to old Lambert. When I told him that Lambert was murdered, he got very excited and wanted to speak to you.
This is Commissioner Gordon. What's the trouble?
Yesterday, Mr. Lambert called and told me he received an anonymous threat on his life. Today, I received the same. That's why I called up, and I'm afraid I'll be next. What shall I do?
Wait, and do not let anybody in. We'll be over soon as we can. What's that, Bruce?
I'll leave you here to finish your work. I'm going home. Meanwhile, Stephen Crane sits in his library with a feeling of impending danger, when suddenly... There is a sickening shot. Crane slumps in his chair, dead. The murderer rushes to the safe and secures the paper.
Did you get the paper? Yeah.
As the 2 men leer over their conquest, they do not notice a third menacing figure standing behind them. It is the Batman.
The Batman!
The Batman lashes out with a terrific right. He grabs his second adversary in a deadly headlock and with a mighty heave sends the burly criminal flying through space. The Batman swiftly picks up the paper that the murderer stole from Stephen Crane's safe. Meanwhile, the Commissioner draws up in his car.
It's the Batman! Get him!
Mr. Crane has been murdered, sir. It's horrible. That's 2 dead partners out of the 4 that have received threatening notes. The other 2 must have received them too. Let's go to Rogers next. The Batman reads the paper he snatched from the killers and a grim smile comes to his lips. He speeds his car forward to an unknown destination. Meanwhile, Rogers, who has learned of Lambert's death by news broadcast, has already gone to the neighbouring laboratory of his erstwhile partner, Alfred Stryker.
Hello, Jennings. I must see Mr. Stryker quickly.
Won't you come in? Jennings, Stryker's assistant, carries Rogers to the basement of the laboratory.
One more out of the way. Soon I'll control everything. This is the gas chamber I used to kill guinea pigs to experiment with, but now you are my guinea pig. When this glass lid covers you entirely, gas will come through the jet and kill you. You fiend!
Jennings pulls a brake which starts the glass down over Rogers and certain doom.
I'm going down now to turn the gas on. Sleep well.
At that moment, the Batman leaps through an open transom. The Batman seizes a wrench from a table and leaps for the gas chamber. The Batman quickly plugs the gas jet with a handkerchief as the gas chamber descends entirely over them. He then unties Rogers and with a powerful swing, Jennings returns and is startled by the Batman. He reaches for his gun. What the? The Batman greets Jennings with a flying tackle. Meanwhile, Alfred Stryker has heard the crash of the gas chamber. As he enters the laboratory,
Rogers, what happened? Your assistant Jennings tried to kill me. So he didn't finish you after all. Well, I'll finish you and then I'll throw your body into the acid tank below.
You? However, Stryker has not noticed the Batman who has secluded himself in the shadows.
Oh, my hand! What's the idea? Why did he try to kill me? This rat was behind the murders. You see, I learned that you, Lambert, Crane and Stryker were once partners in the Apex Chemical Corporation. Stryker, who wished to be sole owner but having no ready cash, made secret contracts with you to pay a certain sum of money each year until he owned the business. He figured by killing you and stealing the contracts, he wouldn't have to pay his money.
A very clever scheme. And being the contracts were a strict secret between the four of us, our heirs or the outside world wouldn't know a thing about them. But how did you know all this?
I secured this contract from one of his hired killers.
Suddenly, Stryker, with the strength of a madman, tears himself free from the grasp of the Batman.
Sure, I did it, but you won't send me to the chair for it.
He's falling right into the acid tank.
A fitting end for his kind.
How can I ever thank you? Why? Gone! The next day, young Bruce Wayne is again a visitor at the Commissioner's house, who has just finished telling Bruce the latest exploits of the Batman.
And then Rogers said the Batman went through the skylight.
A very lovely fairy tale, Commissioner. Indeed. After Bruce Wayne has gone...
Bruce Wayne is a nice young chap, but he certainly must lead a boring life. Seems disinterested in everything.
Bruce Wayne returns home to his room. A little later, his door slowly opens and reveals its occupant. If the Commissioner could see his young friend now, he'd be amazed to learn that he is the Batman. The Batman, a mysterious and adventurous figure, fighting for righteousness and apprehending the menaces of society in his lone battle against the evil. His identity remains unknown. He is one Bruce Wayne, bored young socialite.
Muckstray! $100,000 jewel robbery! Jewel thieves pull fifth sensational robbery! Police baffled, no clues! Muckstray!
That night, Bruce Wayne, the Batman, dials a number and then disguising his voice, speaks.
Hello, Gimpy. This is Commissioner Gordon. Did you get that information about the Jewel Gang? If you did, you'd better spill it, or else you'll be back in the pen to stay. Well?
Gimpy is a stool pigeon in the employ of the police department. Having a criminal record, he has access to the haunts of the underworld.
Look, Chief. Frenchy Blake is behind the gang and they're going to pull a job tonight at the apartment of the Vandersmiths. It's the truth. So help me.
That night, the slick jewel thieves have already pulled the job and are making their escape to the roof.
So far so good, Eglot. Come on this way.
However, a mysterious figure in black watches in the darkness above them. It is the Batman. Suddenly, like a huge bat, the figure of the Batman sails through the air. The Batman downs one of the jewel thieves as the other, fearful that a shot from a gun might attract the police, draws the ever silent knife, and it is at the Batman before he can regain his feet. Meanwhile, the other thief unsteadily rises to his feet and in a last desperate move reaches for his gun. The Batman reaches down for the bag of stolen jewels and does a curious thing. He stops. He seems to be waiting. The body of the man that went over the roof has attracted the police. They are surprised when they see the Batman drops the bag of jewels.
It's the Batman! So sorry, gentlemen, but I'm afraid I have to go now. Good night.
To the horrified eyes of the police, the Batman dives off the roof. He turns a complete somersault in midair and lands on his feet on the penthouse roof below.
He quickly draws a tough silk rope from his belt and twirls it above his head. Lassoing a flagpole jutting out on a nearby building, the Batman swings out into space and drops safely onto the roof of a lower building.
He got away, alright? And how he got away? When? Well, at least we got the jewels and the other guys. And we know that the Batman is one of them. Maybe the head of the gang. Say, I wonder, what if they fought over, though?
This is exactly what the Batman wants them to think. We'll see why in a moment. The next day,
the Batman suddenly fixed us. Ricky is dead and Gloves is in the pen. I'd like to get my hands on that guy. One good thing, though. The cops think the Batman is in on it. Now that means they'll be watching for him, and that leaves us free to continue our work. Now tonight, I want you boys to.
This is why the Batman wanted to be connected with the robberies, so that the jewel thieves would think they weren't being watched, and would continue giving the Batman the opportunity of their capture. However, outside, the Batman listens. That night, Frenchie's men are at work.
So more there, Slick. It's a good thing the Batman isn't here tonight. Just let him come. We're ready for him this time.
But at that very moment, the black-clad figure of the Batman swings into the looted apartment. After knocking out the guard at the window, the Batman is attacked from the rear.
Okay, Mr. Wise Guy, we've been waiting for you.
Thanks, gentlemen, for waiting. You'll never know how much I appreciate your favour.
The Batman ties the men up, then crosses the room and phones.
Hello, Commissioner Gordon. This is the Batman talking. If you'll send over some men to the Norton home, you'll find something there that might interest you.
The Batman then leaves as he has entered, by rope.
Good evening, gentlemen.
He enters his car and speeds away to finish the business at hand. The apartment of Frenchie Blake.
Is that you boys? Yeah, let us in.
You!
The Batman quickly ties one end of the rope to a bed, the other around Frenchie's waist, and tosses him out into space.
Keep quiet and listen. I want a complete written confession from you about those jewel robberies, or else I'll cut this rope.
Alright, pull me up, I'll confess, pull me up.
The Batman pulls him in and Frenchie writes and signs a complete confession.
That should interest the police, Frenchie.
Suddenly, the Batman meets Frenchie's jaw and sends him flying back over the table.
Don't hit me like that again, please. Don't hit me, don't.
The Batman ties Frenchie up and carries him to his car. That evening, a car pulls up in front of police headquarters, dumps an unconscious body on the sidewalk, blows its horn and speeds away.
Come on, Kelly. Did you see that? Looks like one stepper of Frenchie Blake. He was sure messed up. Look, this letter for the commissioner was pinned to his back. There's also a briefcase.
A few minutes later, the commissioner reads the message.
Dear Commissioner, I thought you might like to have the leader of the jewel gang, and I am also leaving his confession and stolen jewels. Till we meet again, I remain the Batman.